Friends and family, welcome to Godly Truth with Robbins Florexo. Today's video is a loud cry based on the atrocity that has been transpiring in this world today. And most people either see these things and ignore them, or they just don't notice anything at all. Whether you are a Christian or not, every single one of us will be affected by these events in a major way. By the time you wake up, it will be far too late. Now, as previously said, this is a loud cry. You know, the Word of God warns us of this time. Now it is high time to awake out of sleep. That's Romans 13:11. Friends, the world is not what it seems. The power that be is deceiving us in such a way that almost no one can see it. It all started in 2019. Our freedom of speech, liberty of conscience, food, fuel, energy, finances, just to name a few, is being stripped away gradually from us so that people don't react, and we are getting used to everything that is being done unto us. The price of everything is sky high nowadays. I wonder why. Take a look at what's happening around the world already concerning gas.
Sri Lankans struggles as crisis worsens. Cash-strapped Sri Lanka imposed fuel rationing in yet another series of worsening economic crisis. Ceylon Petroleum Corporation, which accounts for 2/3 of the retail fuel market, has now imposed limits on fuel an individual can buy.
Power and Energy Minister Kanchana Wijasekara says, Fuel Pass QR system will be applied in all fuel stations island-wide from tomorrow. In a Twitter message, the minister requests all fuel station owners and management to dispense fuel only with the QR system and to check the QR code vehicle number on the device with the number plate of the vehicle to verify details.
The food supply is being destroyed right before our eyes. Check out these headlines here. World War II style rationing of food, fuel needed to combat climate change. That article came out February 23rd, 2023. Researchers from the University of Leeds said lessons learned during wartime can be useful in the fight against climate change, and I put that in quotation. Records from the Second World War show that compulsory food rationing was more acceptable to the UK public than voluntary changes to diet when resources ran short. Compulsory food rationing? Forcing. The policy aimed to share goods and burdens more equally, regardless of wealth, which was an important part of its popularity and success. Friends, what do you think so far? As you can see, we are heading straight for a dystopian society. The article goes on to say, climate change could be tackled with the help of a World War II style rationing of petrol, meat, and the energy people use in their homes. This would help countries to slash their greenhouse gas emissions rapidly and fairly. And check this out, red words, governments could restrict the number of long-haul flights people make in a year, or limit the amount of petrol one can buy in a month. Now check this out. Listen to what Uncle Joe in the UN said previously about the global food supply.
With regard to food shortage, yes, we did talk about food shortages, and it's going to be real.
The UN chief warns of catastrophe from global food shortage. How do they know that? So all of a sudden now they are prophets, huh? Because they can tell us exactly what will shortly come to pass. This is just to tell you that they are the one who is behind all these atrocities that is taking place in the world today. All this suffering that people are going through is the result of their actions. The article reads, the head of the United Nations warned Friday that the world faces catastrophe because of the growing shortage of food around the globe. There is a real risk that multiple famines will be declared in 2022. In 2023 could be even worse. Well, we are in 2023. I guess time will tell. He said no country will be immune to the social and economic repercussions in such a catastrophe. How do they know all these things if they are not the one responsible for it? Now, I know if I am doing something, I can basically tell exactly what I am going to do, or what I am doing for that matter. Because if you are not the one responsible for these events, then how do you know exactly when they are going to happen?
Well, here's an amazing story, and we're making no claims about it. We're just noting it because it's far outside the realm of statistical probability. In just the last month, more than a dozen food processing plants in this country have been disabled by freak events. 2 of them were hit by planes. The rest caught fire. And it's not just in the last month this has happened. This has been going on for the last year. A disproportionately large number of food processing plants have had unexplained accidents. And then there's this, a new avian virus. More than 27 million chickens and turkeys in this country have been destroyed because of a bird flu epidemic. At the same time, China's been buying up 200,000 acres at least of U.S. farmland. We're not saying all these things are connected, but we're saying their effect is the same, a threat to our food supply. What is going on here?
I want to give you a quick short list of a couple of the food processing plant fires. On April 21st, we had an airplane crash at General Mills plant, causing a fire.
Just moments before we went to air tonight, a plane apparently crashed at a General Mills plant, a food plant in Covington, Georgia. 6 tractor trailers were reportedly on fire. This is the second time in a week that something like this has happened. On April 14th, the plane crashed into the Gem State Processing in East Idaho. What's going on here? Well, the story gets weirder. Food processing plants all over the country seem to be catching fire. A couple of days ago, a fire destroyed the headquarters of Azure Standard, one of the largest organic food distributors in the country. At the end of last month, a fire severely damaged a fresh onion packing facility in South Texas.
And here's a few more to add to that list. April 13th, Taylor Farms, Salinas, California, the world's largest producer of fresh cut vegetables and salad kits, 225,000 square foot building, almost a total loss. March 24th, Penobscot McCrum Potato Factory in Belfast, Maine, a total loss. They process Maine potatoes for frozen potato products. February 22nd, Sure Farms Potato Chip Plant in Oregon. Back in August 2021, Tyson Foods, Huntsville, Alabama. That was a poultry rendering processing plant that produces animal feed, which is important in our food supply.
So industrial accidents happen, of course, but this is a lot of industrial accidents at food processing facilities at the same time the president's warning us about food shortages. They're getting hit by planes and catching fire. What is going on here exactly? Jason Rantz hosts a radio show in Seattle and joins us to put it into perspective. Jason, good to see you.
Good to see you. Yeah, obviously when something happens every so often, you obviously hope that there's no significant damage and certainly no one gets hurt, but you kind of write it off. It's not that big of a deal. Accidents happen. But when you've got well over a dozen food processing plants and warehouses getting destroyed or seriously damaged over just the last few weeks, at a time when the food supply is already vulnerable, it's obviously suspicious. And it could lead to serious food shortages. That's why some folks are now wondering, well, number one, what's going on? And you've got some people speculating that this might be an intentional way to disrupt the food supply.
Wait, may I ask you to pause there really quick? Can I just ask you, I just want to nail this down so our viewers understand. There have been confirmed over a dozen disabling accidents at food plants in the last month, over a dozen.
Absolutely, and we're talking about some really significant plants. The Taylor Farms facility in Salinas, California was completely destroyed by a fire last week. We've had 2 major potato processing plants in Belfast, Maine and Warden, Washington that were completely gutted, which is happening at a time where we already have a potato shortage globally. You were talking about the onion supply at that Rio Fresh. But it's not just produce plants. Last month, there was a fire that took out a Nestle food plant out in Jonesboro, Arkansas, and that's impacting frozen food brands like Hot Pockets or Stouffer's, which maybe you might buy if you can't get fresh food from a warehouse that just exploded.
I thought this was interesting. You can draw your own conclusions, but nevertheless, it doesn't hurt to be prepared. Always be prepared. You never know what is going to happen and what could cause food shortages. This may not cause food shortages, but maybe there's something else in the supply chain that can cause shortages. Thank you for watching, and as always, happy prepper shopping.
How? People, you just have to put the pieces together and it's all going to make sense. And now we are living in such a time where we cannot turn a blind eye anymore. We need to be vigilant. We need to be on our toes because we are living in this dystopian society. And these politicians or globalists, these people are demon possessed. And we are the one that's suffering for all of it. All these rules and regulations that they are putting in place, these things only apply to us and not to them. Now, the globalists at the World Economic Forum are telling us the future is being built by them. And Pope Francis, prior to that, said the same thing, talking about prepare the future. Not prepare for the future now. They are the one that's preparing the future.
Second way of contributing to make this a better world is to look at all those issues in a holistic way. Political, economic, social, and ecological dimensions of every issue today are intertwined. So here we are, and you may ask, why do we have 400 sessions? It is to deal with all the aspects of our global system. Let's also be clear. The future is not just happening. The future is built by us, by a powerful community as you here in this room.
Check out this headline here. Vatican task force says millions risk hunger problems during pandemic. Call for creative solidarity to save global problems. The article reads, Cardinal Peter Turkson, Pope Francis asked us to prepare the future, not prepare for the future. That is, prepare and anticipate it. As Laudato Si reminds us, it is time for a deep and global conversion. He listed action that need to be taken globally to change the situation. Prepare the future. In that book, Laudato Si, it is an encyclical wrote by Pope Francis. So everything that you notice taking place in the world today, all these policies that are against every single one of us, they are coming directly from that book named Laudato Si. Now, it's not enough that they are committing all these crimes against humanity. Now they want to tap into our brains too. Listen.
Hello, everybody. I'm Nicholas Thompson. I'm the CEO of The Atlantic, and I will be your moderator today. We are going to have an incredible session. Star of the show is Nita Farahany. She is a futurist and legal ethicist at Duke, and she's so smart and so interesting. You're going to learn a ton. This is how it's going to work. We're going to watch a short video. She's going to come on stage and talk, and then we're going to do a little Q&A, questions from the audience, and that'll be a wrap, and you'll leave enlightened and excited. So first off, a video. It's going to make you see the future and understand a wonderful future where we can use brainwaves to fight crime, be more productive, and find love. Let's roll.
You're in the zone. Even you can't believe how productive you've been. Your memo is finished, your inbox is under control, and you're feeling sharper than you have in a decade. Sensing your joy, your playlist shifts to your favorite song, sending chills up your spine as the music begins to play. You glance at the program running in the background on your computer screen and notice a now familiar sight that appears whenever you're overloaded with pleasure. Your theta brainwave activity decreasing in the temporal regions of your brain. You mentally move the cursor to the left and scroll through your brain data over the past few hours. You can see your stress levels rising as the deadline to finish your memo approached, causing a peak in your beta brainwave activity right before an alert popped up, telling you to take a brain break. But what's that unusual change in your brain activity when you're asleep? It started earlier in the month. You send a text message to your doctor with a mental swipe of your cursor. Could you take a quick look at my brain data? Anything to worry about? Your mind starts to wander to the new colleague on your team, whom you know you shouldn't be daydreaming about, given the policy against intra-office romance. But you can't help fantasizing just a little. But then you start to worry that your boss will notice your amorous feelings when she checks your brain activity and shifts your attention back to the present. You breathe a sigh of relief when the email she sends you later that day congratulates you on your brain metrics from the past quarter, which have earned you another performance bonus. You head home jamming to the music, with your work-issued brain-sensing earbuds still in. When you arrive at work the next day, a somber cloud has fallen over the office. Along with emails, text messages, and GPS location data, the government has subpoenaed employees' brainwave data from the past year. They have compelling evidence that one of your coworkers has committed massive wire fraud. Now, they're looking for his co-conspirators. You discover they are looking for synchronized brain activity between your coworker and the people he has been working with. While you know you're innocent of any crime, you've been secretly working with him on a new startup venture. Shaking, you remove your earbuds.
What do you think? Is it a future you're ready for? You may be surprised to learn that it's a future that has already arrived. Everything in that video that you just saw is based on technology that is already here today. Artificial intelligence has enabled advances in decoding brain activity in ways that we never before thought possible. You've heard a lot about AI over the past few years. Here at Davos, it's been the talk of the hour. But I want to talk about it in a different way, which is the ability to decode brainwave activity. After all, what you think, what you feel, it's all just data. Data that in large patterns can be decoded using artificial intelligence. Consider this. The average person thinks thousands of thoughts each day. As a thought takes form, like a math calculation, you're happy, you're tired, you're hungry, you're elated. Neurons are firing in your brain, emitting tiny electrical discharges. As a particular thought takes form, hundreds of thousands of neurons fire in characteristic patterns that can be decoded with EEG, or electroencephalography, and AI-powered devices. In fact, what you're seeing here is my brain activity while I'm wearing a simple device like the one on the right. We're not talking about implanted devices of the future. I'm talking about wearable devices that are like Fitbits for your brain. It used to be that there was very little we could tell from EEG activity. But already, using consumer wearable devices, these are headbands, hats that have sensors that can pick up your brainwave activity, earbuds, headphones, tiny tattoos that you can wear behind your ear. We can pick up emotional states like, are you happy or sad or angry? We can pick up and decode faces that you're seeing in your mind. Simple shapes, numbers, your PIN number to your bank account. It's not just your brain activity here that we can pick up. We can also pick up your brain activity in different places, like as your neurons fire from your brain down your arm and send signals to your hand to tell you how to type, move. All of that can be decoded through electromyography, and that's what you're seeing here is a device now in the form of a simple wearable watch that can pick up that activity. And in one of the pivotal acquisitions of the field, Meta acquired this company, Control Labs, in 2019, because major tech companies are investing in helping to make these devices universally applicable as the way in which we interact with the rest of our technology. In fact, the coming future, and I mean near-term future, is these devices being the primary way in which we interact with all of the rest of our technology. Rather than a mouse or a keyboard, you can simply swipe with your mind.
The title of today's session is What If Your Brain Confesses? And we're going to be looking at the intersection of neuroscience and the legal system and what the social effects might be as scientists begin to work more with lawyers using technologies like brain mapping, different ways of scanning the brain and incorporating those into trials, into the legal system, and having this influence basically how social justice is parceled out.
Sure. So
Interestingly, not just from neuroscience, but also from psychology, there's a wonderful researcher by the name of Elizabeth Loftus, who's done some really fascinating work looking at planting false memories. She has a great TED Talk on this as well, talking about planting of false memories, where she successfully, in a number of her experiments, has planted false memories, including people believing that they've been at Disney World with characters who are not Disney characters, taking photographs with those characters, or that they've seen a stop sign that wasn't actually there simply by manipulating images and stories that she tells to them, and then they come back into the lab and they are convicted in their belief. And so, to Jack's point about using some of the lie detection technology, particularly for eyewitnesses, not only can we put information in without blowing up your brain, we can put it in and then you can believe it so sincerely that the problem is you can testify to that effect. And in fact, we've seen this in a number of ways. The police were doing lineups where the suggestibility of the information was so strong that people would later identify a person that they'd seen. For example, you show a picture lineup and only one person has on a jacket and nobody else does. And then when you go to the live lineup, because your brain triggered that there was something different about that person, you identify the person who you've just seen, but not realizing that it's because of some difference. And then you've seen them twice, and now you're asked to testify as an eyewitness, and you're so convicted about having seen that person commit the crime, even though that person's utterly innocent, that it becomes a planted memory. And so there's some really interesting research that we can plant false memories in the brain. And in a different context, one of the emerging areas that's really interesting in law neuroscience is pain detection. And once we understand the circuitries that cause pain, I guess the question is, could we then instill pain and use that in many coercive measures in the legal system as well?
Friends, in the Bible, it says in Revelation 17, verse number 17 and 18, Babylon, which is the papacy, will rule over the kings of the earth. This prophecy is being fulfilled right now, right before our eyes. All it takes is one global system, which is exactly what is happening in Davos, Switzerland, where all the world leaders come together playing God. You have the New World Order system, you have the United Nations, you have World Health Organization, WHO, you have World Economic Forum, WEF, you have one world currency, that is the CBDC, and you have one world religion. Everything is a global system. They are forming a global system, which will make it a whole lot easier for the papacy to have control over all the world. Check this out, check this article here. Pope Francis hops aboard chilling globalist Great Reset WEF wagon. Yep, he's in there. He's pretty much everywhere. And look at Pope Francis at the UN. Pope Francis delivers speech to United Nations about how to build a post-COVID world. And check out Pope Francis here with the WHO. Pope Francis and WHO Director General, health is a right and not a privilege. The man pretty much have his hands on everything. And so tell me, we are living in the end time and we cannot afford to remain asleep. They all share the same sentiment with the Pope of Babylon. All the kings of the earth are within her reach now. Jesus said, when we see we are surrounded with armies on every side, leave the cities and go to the country, even the mountains. That's according to Luke chapter 21, verse number 20 through 22. Friend, we are now being surrounded on every side. All the signs are there. Look what is happening around the world. And if you're not pleased with what you are seeing, then perhaps it's time for you to make a decision to walk with Christ faithfully. Pick up your Bible, read it, go on your knees, pray without ceasing, because we need the Lord more than ever before. The end of this world is even closer than most think, and you want to be found among those that are worthy to be with Jesus Christ. Share this information with others, leave me a comment, and help the gospel of Christ by subscribing to this channel. See you next time.